Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayate.
Shailesh, Prabhu.
Katha Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Sorry to interrupt you. The Shruti box is giving quite a bad vibration. It's sort of overcoming your voice. So I don't know if you want to switch that off.
Yeah, we'll turn it down.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, try it. Let's try it.
Narayanam Namritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirya Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hidayantosto Bhadrani Vidonoti Sayatsatam Nastaye prayashya bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtaki mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayet girim yat kripatam aham vande shri gurum dinataram yat kripatam aham vande Paramanandam Modam. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Dev Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Prananami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna devotees. And so we'll be reciting the entire chapter 2, Sanskrit verses first, and then we'll come back and do the English translations thereafter. Please forgive us if we make any mistakes. We will try our best to try and please Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu and the devotees. Hare Krishna.
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय अथ द्वितीयोऽध्यायः व्यास उवाच इति सम्प्रश्नसंहृष्टो विप्राणां रौमहर्षणिः प्रतिपूज्य वचस्तेषां प्रवक्तुमुपचक्रमे सूतोवाच यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातराजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुः तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि यस्वानुभावमखिलश्रुतिसारमेकम् अध्यात्मदीपमतितितीर्षतां तमोऽन्धम् संसारिणां करुणयाः पुराणगुह्यम् तं व्याससूनुमुपयामि गुरुं मुनीनां नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् मुनयः साधु पृष्टोऽहं भवद्भिर्लोकमङ्गलं यत्कृतः कृष्णसम्प्रश्नो येनात्मा सुप्रसीदति स वै पुंसां परो धर्मो यतो भक्तिरधोक्षजे अहैतुक्यप्रतिहता ययात्मा सुप्रसीदति वासुदेवे भगवती भक्तियोगः प्रयोजितः जनयत्याशु वैराग्यं ज्ञानं च यदहैतुकम् धर्मस्वनुष्ठितः पुंसा विश्वक्सेन कथासु यः नोत्पादयेद्यदिरतिं श्रम एव हि केवलम् धर्मस्य ह्यापवर्ग्यस्य नार्थोऽर्थायोपकल्पते नार्थस्य धर्मैकान्तस्य कामो लाभाय हि स्मृतः कामस्य नेन्द्रियप्रीतिः लाभो जीवेत यावता जीवस्य तत्त्वजिज्ञासा नार्थो यश्चेह कर्मभिः वदन्ति तत्तत्त्वविदः तत्त्वं यज्ञानमद्वयम् ब्रह्मेति परमात्मेति भगवानिति शप्यते तच्छ्रद्धधाना मुनयो ज्ञानवैराग्ययुक्तया पश्यन्त्यात्मनि चात्मानं भक्त्या श्रुतगृहीतया अतः पुंभिर्द्विजश्रेष्ठा वर्णाश्रमविभागशः स्वनुष्ठितस्य धर्मस्य संसिद्धिर्हरितोषणम् तस्मादेकेन मनसा भगवान् सात्वतां पतिः श्रोतव्यः कीर्तितव्यश्च ध्येयः पूज्यश्च नित्यदा यदनुध्यासिना युक्ताः कर्मग्रन्थिनिबन्धनं छिन्दन्ति कोविदास्तस्य को न कुर्यात् कथारतिम् शुश्रूषो श्रद्धधानस्य वासुदेव तथा रुचिः स्यान्महत्सेवया विप्राः पुण्यतीर्थनिषेवणात् शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णः पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृद्यन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सताम् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी तदा रजस्तमो भावाः कामलोभादयश्च ये चेत एतैरनाविद्धं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति एवं प्रसन्नमनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगतः भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते भिद्यते हृदयग्रन्थिः छिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयाः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे अतो वै कवयो नित्यं भक्तिं परमया मुदा वासुदेवे भगवती कुर्वन्त्यात्मप्रसादनी सत्वं रजस्तम इति प्रकृतेर्गुणास्तैः युक्तः परः पुरुष एक इहास्य धत्ते स्थित्यादये हरिविरिञ्चि हरेति संज्ञाः श्रेयांसि तत्र खलु सत्त्वतनोर्नृणां स्युः पार्थिवा दारुणो धूमः तस्मादग्निस्त्रयीमयः तमसस्तु रजस्तस्मात् सत्वं यद्ब्रह्मदर्शनम् हे चिरे मुनयोथाग्रे भगवन्तमधोक्षजम् सत्वं विशुद्धं क्षेमाय कल्पन्ते हेनुताः मुमुक्षवो घोररूपा हित्वा भूतपतिनथ नारायणकला शान्ता भजन्ति ह्यनसूयवः रजस्तमः प्रकृतयः समशीला भजन्ति वै पितृभूतप्रजेशादि श्रीयैश्वर्यप्रजेप्सवः वासुदेव परावेदा वासुदेव परामखाः वासुदेव परा योगा वासुदेव परा क्रियाः वासुदेव परं ज्ञानं वासुदेव परं तपः वासुदेव परो धर्मो वासुदेव परा गतिः स एवेदं ससर्जाग्रे भगवानात्ममायया सदसद्रूपया चासौ गुणमय्या गुणो विभुः तया विलसितेष्वेषु गुणेषु गुणवानिव अन्तः प्रविष्ट आभाति विज्ञानेन विजृम्भितः यथा ह्यवहितो वह्निः दारुष्वेकस्वयोनिषु नानेव भाति विश्वात्मा भूतेषु च तथा पुमान् असौ गुणमयैर्भावैः भूतसूक्ष्मेन्द्रियात्मभिः स्वनिर्मितेषु निर्विष्टो भुङ्क्ते भूतेषु तद्गुणान् भावयत्येष सत्त्वेन लोकान् वै लोकभावनः लीलावतारानुरतो देवतिर्यन्नरादिषु इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां प्रथमस्कन्धे नैमिषोपाख्याने द्वितीयोऽध्यायः श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्द गोविन्द
Chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service. Translations by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhu. Text 1. Ugrasrava Sutta Goswami, the son of Romaharshana, being fully satisfied by the perfect questions of the Brahmanas, thanked them and thus attempted to reply.
Text 2. Srila Sutta Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the great sage Sukadeva Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyasa, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher castes, his father, Vyasadeva, fearing separation from him, cried out, 'O my son, indeed, only the trees which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation echoed in response to the bereaved father.'"
Text 3. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Sukha, the spiritual master of all sages, and the son of Vyasadeva, who, out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge after having personally assimilated it by experience.
Text 4. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan, Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author.
Text 5. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self.
Text 6. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which man can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self.
Text 7. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world.
Text 8. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead.
Text 9. All occupational engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, according to the sages, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification.
Text 10. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works.
Text 11. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan.
Text 12. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes the absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti.
Text 13. For best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste, divisions, and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead.
Text 14. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees.
Text 15. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message?
Text 16. O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vyasadeva.
Text 17. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, Supersoul, in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
Text 18. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Text 19. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy.
Text 20. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association.
Text 21. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master.
Text 22. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self.
Text 23. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness.
Text 24. Firewood is a transformation of earth, but smoke is better than the raw wood, and fire is still better. For fire, we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifices. Similarly, passion, rajas, is better than ignorance, tamas, and goodness, sattva, is best because by goodness one can come to realize the absolute truth.
Text 25. Previously, all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead due to his existence above the three modes of material nature. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world.
Text 26. Those who are serious about liberation are certainly non-envious, and they respect all. Yet they reject the horrible and ghastly forms of the demigods and worship only the all-blissful forms of Lord Vishnu and his plenary portions.
Text 27. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship those in the same category, namely the forefathers, other living beings, and the demigods who are in charge of cosmic activities. For they are urged by a desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny.
Text 29. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please him. Yoga is for realizing him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him only. He is supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto him. He is the supreme goal of life.
Text 30. In the beginning of the material creation, that absolute truth of absolute personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy.
Text 31. After creating the material substance, the Lord, Vasudeva, expands himself and enters into it. And although he is within the material modes of nature and appears to be one of the created beings, he is always fully enlightened in his transcendental position.
Text 32. The Lord, as Supersoul, pervades all things, just as fire permeates wood, and so he appears to be of many varieties, though he is the absolute one without a second.
Text 33. The Supersoul enters into the bodies of the created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them to enjoy the effects of these modes by the subtle mind.
Text 34. Thus, the Lord of the universes, maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, men and lower animals. Assuming the roles of incarnation, he performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Divinity and the Divine Service. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Please forgive us if we've caused any offense or created any mistakes during this session. Please bless us so we may be able to continue to serve you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. You know, my Guru Maharaj, whenever he gives a Zoom class, he says, devotees, please turn your cameras on so I can see your moon-like faces. Sailesh, Prabhu, and Kirti Mataji, would I be presumptuous in asking you, requesting you all to turn your cameras on so we could see you? Hare Krishna. You got mute now, Prabhu.
Sorry.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. It's nice to see you all in person. It was a beautifully presented recitation. Kirti Mataji, your Sanskrit and your pronunciation is
Our
perfect.
daughter
This is
Radhika.
Radhika.
Where was Radhika? Oh, Radhika, your Sanskrit pronunciation is so relishable to hear. It was like nectar going down our ears. Thank you so much, Radhika.
Thank you, Prabhu.
And Sailesh Prabhu and Kirti Mataji, your recitation. Both of you all did the English, did you? Yeah, that was very nice. So it was very nice. It was a pleasure here listening to you all, and thank you for giving us this enhanced experience of the recitation of chapter 2. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So dear devotees, I have been reading the comments. I think all of you also shared our appreciation. We have a shared appreciation of the beautiful recitations of Sailesh, Prabhu, Kirti Mataji, and Radhika. Yeah, there's not much time, but the purpose of today was to recite the entire chapter and then to do an overview. So what I will do is, and we've also got later on Namrata Mataji singing a beautiful bhajan. So I'll give a quick overview of chapter 2 of Canto 1. And the chapter, as we have been reading, is Divinity and Divine Service. I take it you all can see my screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right, okay. I think what stands out about Srimad Bhagavatam, and it becomes very apparent in both the first and second chapter, and it'll continue to be so throughout the Bhagavatam, is how beautifully the Srimad Bhagavatam is structured. You know, it reads like a beautifully threaded thesis, and it flows so wonderfully. And if we recall, the first chapter was all about the sages of Naimisharanya, them wanting to find a solution, them meeting Sutta Goswami, and they were so intelligently coming up with 6 questions. So this chapter is broken up into 6 parts. And the essence of this chapter is, for the first time, we hear Sutta Goswami speaking. So in the first chapter, the sages presented their questions to Sutta Goswami, and then Sutta Goswami responds. He responds. And so the chapter is broken up essentially into, firstly, Sutta Goswami's response, and then from text 8 to 15 is only bhakti is to be gained by one's prescribed work. Text 16 to 22 is a beautiful description of the process of bhakti and how it works. Further on, only Krishna is to be worshipped. then we get the answer to question 4, and then the answer to question 3. So in this chapter, we get the answers to the first 4 questions raised by the sages of Naimisharanya. And just as a quick recap of what those questions were, because we see the answers here. The first question is, what is the ultimate good for all people in general? And the second question asked was, please explain the essence of all scriptures for the good of all living beings. The third question was, why did the Lord appear in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva? And the fourth question was, please describe the Lord's adventures in his various incarnations, or specifically the Purusha Avatars. So in this chapter, we saw the answers for those questions, and very brilliant answers, concise, to the point. And we'll go through that briefly. So in the first 4 verses, we see Sutta Goswami offering obeisances. And that is the standard Vaishnava culture being demonstrated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Before anyone...
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Rama.
Nice to hear you chanting Gita Govinda Mantraji. So we learn a very important part of the Bhagavad culture, and that is, before anyone speaks, be they how elevated, one offers obeisances to one spiritual master. So Sutta Goswami glorifies his spiritual master Shukadeva Goswami in some beautiful verses, and then he offers obeisances to Narayan Rishi, Mother Saraswati, and Srila Vyasadeva. And then he praises in text number 5. He glorifies the sages that your questions are related to Lord Krishna. And because they are related to Lord Krishna, they are capable of benefiting all people. And secondly, they completely satisfy the self. So Bhagavatam is so beautiful, even the questions being asked are glorified. And this is the Bhagavad culture. We speak about Bhagavatam, the automatic outcome is we come in touch with the culture of the Bhagavad. And Prabhupada used to say that this Srimad Bhagavatam is a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the world. That's what Srila Prabhupada writes in his preface. And if we pay particular attention, you will see there's so much that comes out as we read in terms of what is the Bhagavad culture. And then we see these two, the culture of offering obeisances to the gurus, the previous acharyas, and Mother Saraswati. And then questions 6 to 7, we get the answers to the first 2 questions. And text 6 is answer to what is the ultimate good for all people. Who can remember the answer? What is the ultimate good for all people? If you can even quote the verse, is even better.
Worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna.
Yes. Yes. Do you know the verse?
Sorry.
Oh, okay. The ultimate good for all humanity is that by which men can attain unmotivated and uninterrupted devotional service unto the Lord that completely satisfy the self. And there were some key elements there. Firstly, devotional service is the ultimate good. But that devotional service has to be of a particular nature. A haituki, a pratihata. It needs to be uninterrupted and unmotivated. And when it's of that nature, loving devotional service, which is uninterrupted, unmotivated, it completely satisfies us. Yayatma suprasidati. So always remember text number 6 of chapter 2. because it tells us what is the ultimate good for all people. And then is answered, yeah. So that's the answer to question number 1. And question number 2 was, what is the essence of all the scriptures? And that is, again, it's bhakti. And the essence of all scriptures is also bhakti. The ultimate good is bhakti and the essence. So if we read any scriptures that does not tell us about bhakti, it does not describe bhakti, that is not for our ultimate good. So Sutta Goswami is immediately, concisely, beautifully answering these 2 magnificent questions. And then we go on to the section 8 to 15. Now we notice in this world, there are many people of the opinion that if I live the perfect life, I execute my duties perfectly, as the perfect husband, as the perfect child, as the perfect grihastha, as the perfect kshatriya or brahmana. That is what life is all about. Life is all about duty and doing your duty perfectly according to dharma. And through the last 35 years in my endeavors to preaching, I always ask people this question: so what do you believe is the essence of your life? And so many people I've met always answer like this: perfection is to be a good person, live my life honestly, to be the perfect father, boss, brahmana, whatever it is. So after explaining this, Sutta Goswami then goes on to explain about occupational duties. And he beautifully says, he explains, why is Van Ashram not the Paro Dharma? Why is it that if you do all of your duties perfectly, it is not acceptable? And he quotes this beautiful, and he says, your occupational duties are only useless labor if they do not provoke attractions to the messages of the Lord. So all of you can do in your life everything perfectly in your duties. If what you're doing does not provoke an attraction for hearing the message of Krishna, it's useless. Shrama eva I kevalam. So I find this very, very exciting, very interesting. Now Sutta Goswami is almost anticipating how the people of Kali Yuga think. And occupational duties, text number 9, are meant for ultimate liberation. Again, those beautiful verses. So this talking about inquiry into the absolute truth, text number 10. Life's desires should be directed not for sense gratification, but maintaining a healthy life for self-preservation, but one should inquire into the absolute truth. So that's text number 10. So that raises the question then. We speak about the absolute truth. Who is the absolute truth? What is the absolute truth? And then Sutta Goswami says in text number 10, the absolute truth can be understood in 3 features: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. That's text number 11. Again, you see the beautiful thread of how Sutta Goswami is presenting his answers. And then he says, okay, now we've spoken about what we should not do. We've established that human life is meant for the inquiry into the absolute truth. We've then established what do we mean by absolute truth. Now let's talk about the process of inquiry, realizing the absolute truth. And that text is text number 12. And it says, yeah, the seriously inquisitive sage, equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes the absolute truth by devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. And then he concludes this whole section by saying, the only purpose of Varnashram is to please Lord Hari. Actually, there's another verse in the 11th canto. I didn't bring it up here, but I may have spoken about it previously, where it says, if one executes one's duty and Varnashram perfectly, but if one fails in that process to worship the Lord Hari, one goes to hell. So he said the only purpose of Varnashram is to please Ata Pumbi Dvijashreshtas Varnashrama Vibhagasaha. So the purpose of Varnashram is to please Lord Hari. And then it goes on to say, therefore, now you've understood who is the absolute truth, what is the process, what is the ultimate good. Now, with single-pointed attention, you focus only on devotional service. You know, you've understood, it's been pointed out to you. Tasmad ekana manasa, with single-pointed attention. You now focus on devotional service. How? By glorifying, remembering, and worshipping. Shrotavya kirtitavyascha. Dveja pujascha nityadha. How you execute the devotional service? Glorify, remember, and worship. And then we end up with what is the result? It says here, therefore, with sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work by remembering the personality of Godhead. So what do? It's the karma that binds us. Simply by remembering the Lord, it cuts through all of the karma that binds us like knots. And then beautifully, after glorifying bhakti, Sutta Goswami then explains, how does this process of bhakti work? How does this process of bhakti work? And that is, only Krishna is to be worshipped. So this entire theme from 23 to 29 is only Krishna is to be worshipped. Among the guna avatars, Vishnu is to be worshipped. The demigod worship should be rejected. And the essence of all process is to worship Vasudev. That beautiful verse about Vasudev. Again, it's so emphatic, so clear, so clear. So sorry, 6 to 21, I'm just jumping ahead here. 6 to 21 is the bhakti process. Now, what I would like to do is, can anyone in their own words paraphrase this beautiful description from text 16 to 21 of how the bhakti process works? It's such a core part of this chapter. You don't have to read, but just in your own words. You don't have to be right. Just paraphrase your understanding of how the bhakti process works. Is anyone brave enough to want to do that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Sorry, just now, interruption. I can explain a little bit, but please correct us, Prabhu.
Okay.
Text 16 to 22, Bhakti process. Bhakti is the only process to reach Krishna. So, like example, we are doing every day. Every day when we wake up from bed, what do? Oh, you must go and bow down after you wash your face, you brush your teeth, you clean yourself. If those who can wake up and have a shower, it'd be good in the morning before 4:30 at 10 Mangala Aarti. And then if you're at home, you are not able to go to the temple, you have to make your home a temple. So if you got deities, it's our duty every day to pay respect by bowing down to the deities or to the pictures of Radha Krishna or the Gonitai. And going to the market, you think, I'm going to cook something for my Lord. So in this way, you think not for yourself, you think everything for Krishna. I'm going to cook some prasadam for Krishna. So what I'm going to buy? You think of Krishna that you are serving. So when you come back from the market, you cook. Krishna, my Lord, I'm going to cook some nice prasadam for you. In that way, you can serve Krishna through your mind, through your action, and through your body. So after that, in the daytime, in the morning, it's good if you can chant 16 rounds. But for those who couldn't do it, at least chant a few rounds to make your life more blissful, more connected to Krishna with the holy name. And then in the day, after your prasadam, we have to clean the house. Why do you have to clean your house? Very important. Krishna is in your house 24 hours. He's in our heart as a para-atma. So he's living with us 24 hours. How can we forget him? So we need to clean the house to please the Lord. So in the day, after you have done your work, if you go to work, you bring your prasadam and you can share with your friend. That's a kind of sharing love through Krishna prasad. And
Thank you,
you
Govinda.
all need things. Yes, sorry.
Thank you, Mataji.
I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah, so sorry to pause
Thank you
there.
so much.
Because of the limit of time, you beautifully
Thank you.
described the practical aspect of sadhana bhakti.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I'm sure you're living that life. But coming back
Thank
to terms
you.
of the
Thank you.
context of, thank you, Mataji. So the context of
Thank
the
you.
process described by Sutta Goswami through the stages, I'll just paraphrase them because of the interest of time. Firstly, service to devotees gives affinity to hear Krishna Katha. When we take up the process of hearing Krishna Katha, we attract Krishna's attention. Krishna then enters our heart and cleanses the heart of someone who's developed attraction to hear Krishna Katha. By such regular hearing of Krishna Katha, the anarthas in the heart are almost completely destroyed and we become steady in our bhakti. And when we become steady in our bhakti, that which binds us to the material world, the lower modes of nature disappear. And the consequent result is we become happy. And when we become happy, the mind becomes enlivened, which is text number 20, in bhakti, and one realizes Bhagavat Tattva. So that is the process, very simply put. And the results of following this process, the knot in the heart becomes pierced, all misgivings are cut to pieces, and the chain of karma is terminated, and one sees the self as the master. That's text number 21. And then text number 22, even in the process of sadhana bhakti, regulative devotional service, there are no difficulties. All transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self, even for the sadhakas. And then there is the 23 to 29. Among the guna avatars, Lord Vishnu is to be worshipped, demigods are rejected, and the essence of all process is to worship Vasudeva. Vasudeva is the ultimate object of the Vedas. He is the purpose of sacrifice. He is the purpose of yoga. The purpose of all fruitive activity should be awarded to him. Krishna is the supreme. Austerities are to know Vasudeva. And religion to Lord Vasudeva is supreme. And then we conclude the chapter from text number 30 to 33, where the question number 4 is answered, and that is, please describe the Purusha Avatars. And we see a description of Karanodakshai Vishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and Shirodakshai Vishnu, the 3 Vishnus. We spoke about the 3 super souls. And then finally, verses 34 to 30, verse 34, which is the answer to question number 3. And the question 3 was, why did Krishna, Lord, appear in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva? And for me, this is one of the most important reasons the Lord appears. And what is that? It is to attract us. He appears in various incarnations to reclaim us who are in the mode, to those in the mode of pure goodness. So the Lord comes to reclaim us. So here we see the first 4 questions answered so beautifully, very concise and wonderfully explained chapter, which takes us 1 minute to our target. I hope it was not too rushed and it captures the essence. Are there any questions and reflections before we go into tonight's bhajan? Silence. Okay, so I take it. Chapter 2 is embedded in your mind. It's a very, very important chapter. Very, very important chapter, which if we understand the structure of it, even this 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6 main themes, it'll really help us in our remembering Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'll stop here and I'll hand over. So Jyoti Mataji will now take on the host and she would share the screen. Santosh Mataji is going to read the translation of the bhajan, and Namrata Mataji will be singing the bhajan. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. My humble obeisances to you.
Hare Krishna. Jyoti Mataji, I'm not sure if it's for the others also, but the screen that you're sharing is like it's only half. Maybe it's still on. You got by screen. Okay, I don't know. It's like it's being cut off the text. So if you could, I don't know, somehow or the other, show it in a way we can see the entire text.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I can see the entire text.
Or you can see the entire. Or maybe I've split my screen. I don't know. Possibly.
And I can see the entire text as well, Prabhuji.
Okay, that's fine.
Prabhuji, first is showing the English translation, and then I'll scroll up for the translation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna. May I start, Prabhuji?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. This is the English translation for the beautiful bhajan called Maine Ratana Lagai Radha Naam Ki. Radha is there in the blinking of my eyes. Radha is there in the curls of my hair. I have filled up the very part of my hair. Oh, with the sweet name of Radha. Radha is there within my vision. Radha is there within my speech. I interweave my every word. Oh, with the sweet name of Radha. Radha is there in my necklace. Radha is there in my sari. I have adorned my nose ring. Oh, with the sweet name of Radha. Radha is there in my walking. Radha is there in my gestures. My sash of waist bells resounds. Oh, with the sweet name of Radha. Radha is there on my right and on my left. Radha is there in front of me and behind. My every fiber reflects the rasa flowing. Oh, with the sweet name of Radha. Radha is there on my each and every limb. Radha is there accompanying me always. Lord Gopala plays his flute, which calls out, oh, with the sweet name of Radha. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
My humble obeisances to all of you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, just want to say a massive thanks to Santosh Mataji for choosing the bhajan and always guiding me as well. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. मैंने रत्ना लगाई राधा नाम की, 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 मेरी पालक में राधा, मेरी आलक में राधा, मेरी पालक में राधा, मेरी आलक में राधा, मैंने मंगा भराई राधा नाम की, मैंने मंगा भराई राधा नाम की, मैंने रत्न लगाई राधा नाम की, मेरे नैनों में राधा, मेरी पायनान में राधा, मेरी नैनोन में राधा, मेरी पायनान में राधा, मैंने बाइनी गुथाई राधा नाम की, मैंने बाइनी गुथाई राधा नाम की, मैंने रत्न लगाए राधा नाम की, मेरी दुलारी में राधा, मेरी चुनारी में राधा, मेरी दुलारी में राधा, मेरी चुनारी में राधा, मैंने नथनी सजाई राधा नाम की, मैंने नथनी सजाई राधा नाम की, मैंने रत्न लगाई राधा नाम की, मेरी चालान में राधा, मेरी हालान में राधा, मेरी चालान में राधा, मेरी हालान में राधा, मैंने कति किंकनी बजाई राधा नाम की, कति किंकनी बजाई राधा नाम की, मैंने रत्न लगाए राधा नाम की, मेरे दाएं बाएं राधा, मेरे आगे पीछे राधा, मेरे दाएं बाएं राधा, मेरे आगे पीछे राधा, रोमा रोमा रस छाए राधा नाम की, रोमा रोमा रस छाए राधा नाम की, मैंने रत्न लगाए राधा नाम की, मेरे अंग अंग राधा, मेरे संग संग राधा, गोपाल बंसी बजाए राधा नाम की, मेरे अंग अंग राधा, मेरे संग संग राधा, गोपाल बंसी बजाए राधा नाम की, मैंने रत्न लगाए राधा नाम की, मैंने रत्न लगाए राधा नाम की, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि बोल।
Hare Krishna. Beautifully sung, Namrata Mataji. You know the words so nicely.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Srimati Radharani is the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. She's our ultimate object of worship. Who wrote the song? I know it's in Braj Bas and it's sung often in Vrindavan. So, okay, it's fine.
Prabhuji,
Sorry,
did you
Prabhuji,
ask who sang the song?
Yes, I wanted to see who was the writer of the song.
Oh, okay,
I
it
think
just says
this is a
none.
traditional Braj Bas Bhajan.
Probably.
So thank you very much, Santosh Mataji, for your English recitation, and Namrata Mataji so beautifully singing it with so much bhav. We could feel it in your voice. Hare Krishna. So that concludes our session for tonight, dear devotees. Thank you for making your time and giving us your association. And it was a beautiful session. I felt very enlivened with the recitations, the bhajan, and everything else. So have a good Sunday, and we hope to see you all again tomorrow. All glories to your service. Panchakalpa Turubhyascha.
Kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo
Anantapuri
namaha.
Vaishnava Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai.
Jai.
Hare Hare Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vrindavan.